The moment I opened that letter, I felt something inside me die. It was a plain white envelope sitting on top of my mailbox like it had the right to be there, like it wasn't holding the match that was about to burn down the life I'd spent 50 years building. My hands were trembling before I even knew why, and when I slid my thumb underneath the seal and unfolded that thin sheet of paper, the words hit me harder than any slap I'd ever taken. Notice of foreclosure proceedings. My name was printed right there. My address, my loan, my unpaid balance, a number so big it made my stomach twist. I felt the air leave my lungs. I had never missed a mortgage payment in my life, not once, not even during the years I had 2 jobs and no sleep, not even when I was sending money to Janelle every month like she was her personal ATM, not even when groceries felt like luxuries. I stumbled back into the house, the letter crumpled in my fist. The living room spun around me, the couch I saved up for, the rug I thrifted and cleaned by hand, the photographs on the wall, memories of a life that, according to this paper, wasn't even mine anymore because the mortgage I co-signed was now in default. The mortgage Janelle convinced me to sign. The mortgage she was supposed to be paying. The mortgage she disappeared on. My niece, my heart, the child I raised, the girl I poured my soul into, the young woman I believed would someday be the reason I could say it was all worth it. She had vanished 5 months earlier after promising me, swearing to me that she had everything under control. "Just help me get approved, Auntie," she had said, squeezing my hands. "I'll take care of the payments. You know I'm good for it. You always believed in me." And I did. Lord help me, I did. I believed in her through her mother's neglect, through the nights she cried when kids made fun of her clothes, through the scholarship rejections, through the stress of college exams, through the breakdown she had junior year when she said she didn't think she belonged anywhere. I believed in her when she didn't believe in herself. I believed in her enough to drain my savings. I believed in her enough to put my name, my only home, on the line. And now here I was, staring at the cold truth printed in black ink. Payments had stopped. Not last month, not 2 months ago, 5 months ago. She had ruined my name and walked away without a word. My legs buckled beneath me and I collapsed onto the floor, choking on a sound I didn't recognize. It wasn't crying. It wasn't screaming. It was something deeper, something that came from the part of me that loved that girl like she grew under my own ribs. I grabbed my phone, hand shaking so badly I could barely tap the screen, and called her. Straight to voicemail. Not even a ring. I tried again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. I tried her work. "Janelle hasn't been here in weeks," the woman said. My chest tightened. The room blurred. A cold, sharp fear slid down my spine. Had she run? Had something happened? Had she chosen someone else's family to use next? Was she even alive? I didn't know which answer I feared more. I pressed my palm to my forehead, breathing in and out, trying not to crumble, but the truth crept in like poison. Everything I worked for could be gone within 60 days. All because the child I raised like my own chose to gamble with my life. And then, like a cruel joke, my phone lit up with a text. Not from Janelle, from the bank. "Your account balance is insufficient. Automatic withdrawal failed." I felt heat rush through me, humiliation mixing with rage so thick it tasted metallic. I had never in my life been this close to losing everything. Not when I was young and broke, not when I was working overnight shifts cleaning office buildings, not when life slapped me around and expected me to take it. But standing in my living room, holding the foreclosure notice, I felt something shift inside me, something old, something strong, something I hadn't needed in years. Survival mode, because if Janelle could leave me to drown without her, then I would learn to swim without her, even if I had to claw my way through the water. But first, I needed answers, and I knew exactly where to start. The last place she'd been seen, the last person who might know where she was. I grabbed my keys, shoved the letter into my purse, and walked out the door, whispering a prayer that I wouldn't crumble before I found the truth, because if she thought she could disappear after destroying my life, she was about to learn who I really was. I drove across town with my jaw clenched so tight my teeth ached. The sun was setting, but I barely noticed the colors bleeding across the sky. All I could see was that foreclosure notice burned into my memory like it had been stamped behind my eyelids. Every mile, every stoplight, every familiar building felt unreal, like I'd slipped out of my own life and into somebody else's nightmare. Janelle had always had flaws, yes, but she was supposed to be my why, the reason I worked so hard, the child I lifted up every time the world tried to break her. How could she do this? How could she just vanish? I turned into the cracked parking lot of her old apartment building, a dull beige complex that always smelled like old smoke and wet dog. She'd moved here after graduation, partly because it was cheap, partly because it was close to her job. I helped her move in. I bought her dishes. I stocked her fridge that first week. And now I was walking toward it like a woman searching through ashes for anything that hadn't burned. The hallway lights flickered, buzzing overhead like they were irritated by my presence. I stopped at her old door and knocked, firm at first, then harder. "Janelle!" My voice echoed down the hallway. "It's Auntie! Open this door!" Silence. I knocked again. "Janelle, I'm not playing with you. Open this door." Still nothing. The neighbor's door cracked open. A thin woman with rollers in her hair peeked out at me. "You looking for that girl who lived there?" My heart thudded. "Yes. Do you know where she is?" She sucked her teeth. "Baby, she moved out months ago. Old back rent. They kicked her out. Bounced in the middle of the night, far as I know." My stomach twisted. "Moved out? When?" "End of May, maybe early June." 5 months. That lined up exactly with the missed mortgage payments. "So she didn't leave a forwarding address? No new place?" The woman shook her head. "She left a lot of mess, though. Landlord was mad as hell. Girl ran off like she was fleeing the police. I don't know what she got into, but it wasn't good." I thanked her and stepped back, gripping the railing to steady myself. My niece, the girl I put through college, the girl I taught to tie her shoes, had been drowning and didn't say a word. Or worse, she wasn't drowning at all. Maybe she just didn't care who she sank in the process. I walked down the stairwell, every step heavier than the last. Outside, the wind bit at my cheeks. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through our old text thread. The last message she sent me was 6 months ago. "Auntie, I promise everything's gonna be okay. I got you. Don't worry." I should have known the moment she said don't worry. Anytime someone tells you that, worry twice as hard. I sat in my car staring at her name on the screen, and for a moment I felt like I failed her. Like maybe I should have checked on her more. Maybe I should have pushed harder when she sounded stressed. Maybe I should have known something was wrong. But then I remembered the foreclosure notice. I remembered the 5 months of silence. I remembered my empty savings account. No, I didn't fail her. She betrayed me. I closed my eyes and took a slow breath. I needed a plan. The bank gave me 59 days before they started eviction proceedings. That wasn't enough time to come up with the money, not without answers. I needed to understand the full damage. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to see my sister, Janelle's mother. She lived on the other side of the city in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment that smelled like incense and fried food. We hadn't been close years, not since she decided motherhood wasn't for her. But if anyone knew where Janelle was, it would be her. I knocked. A chain slid. Then the door cracked open. My sister Marcia stared at me with narrowed eyes. Well, look who decided to show up. She leaned against the frame like I was a bill collector. "What you want, Lynn?" "I need to talk to you about Janelle." She rolled her eyes. "Of course you do. You only come around when it's about her." I pushed the door lightly. "Can I come in?" She hesitated, then opened it wider. "Make it quick." I stepped inside. The living room was cluttered. Clothes draped over chairs, ashtray overflowing, a faint TV screen glow flickered across the walls. Marcia dropped onto the couch. "So what? She need money again? Something?" She disappeared. My voice cracked, and I hated how raw it sounded. She hasn't paid her mortgage in months. They're foreclosing on the house I co-signed with her. I'm about to lose everything. Marcia blinked. For the first time, something softened in her expression. "Damn, Lynn, I didn't know that." "Do you know where she is?" She shook her head. "She's been off the radar, but she still uses the same debit card. I get alerts by mistake. She's been in Atlanta. At least that's where the last charge was." Atlanta. My chest tightened. That was hours away. A whole new life away. A whole new web of lies. I stood slowly. "I'm going to find her." Marcia stared at me. "Lynn, be careful. If she's in Atlanta and she's hiding from you, it ain't just debt she's running from." I froze. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, then looked away. "Just Be ready for what you might find. The words hit me with a chill I couldn't shake. I walked to the door, clutching my purse, ready to leave, but then my phone vibrated with the message that made my blood run cold. A bank alert, another account, another withdrawal from Chanel, and the location, Atlanta, Georgia. I stared at the screen, my pulse hammering. She wasn't missing. She wasn't hurt. She wasn't lost. She was living her life with my name, my credit, my future, and she didn't care if it destroyed me. I exhaled slowly, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles whitened. I'm coming to Atlanta, I whispered. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that the truth waiting for me there would hurt more than the foreclosure notice ever could. The next morning, I woke up with my heart pounding before my eyes even opened. For a few hazy seconds, I hoped yesterday had just been a nightmare, some stress-induced hallucination my mind conjured up to scare me into finally slowing down. But when I turned over, the foreclosure notice lay on my nightstand like it had slept beside me, waiting, watching, unmoved by my private little hopes. 60 days before the life I built could be swept away. I swung my legs out of bed and sat there for a moment, rubbing my hands over my face. My home felt different now. The walls felt closer, the air heavier. Even the morning light through the blinds seemed hostile, slicing across the hardwood floor like it was exposing every crack and flaw in my life. I needed answers, and I needed control fast. I made myself a cup of coffee, though it tasted like metal because my stomach was too tight to accept anything. I pulled up my laptop and logged into every account I could think of, tracking every trace of Janelle's financial footprint. I hadn't checked on her accounts in years, not since she finished college, but I still had access to a few things from when I managed her bills as a student. Most were empty, dormant, except one, a checking account she'd opened with her first job, back when she was proud of herself, back when she still called me after every milestone like I was her whole cheering section. There were recent transactions, gas stations, fast food, a hotel, all in Atlanta. And then I saw the one thing that made my heart stop, a purchase at a high-end boutique, the kind I could never afford, a $400 dress. My niece, the girl I spent 20 years supporting, was somewhere in Atlanta buying luxury clothes while I was staring down homelessness. I slammed the laptop shut and stood up too fast. The room blurred a little, but I powered through it. Rage steadied me. Pain sharpened me. Fear fueled me. I needed to leave for Atlanta immediately. But I needed to be smart. I still had a job at the community health clinic. Leaving without notice could cost me everything. So I called my supervisor, Ms. Bryant, a woman with a voice as warm as her hugs. "Lynn, everything okay?" I swallowed hard. "No, not really. I need some personal days." An emergency came up. Her tone softened instantly. "Take whatever you need, baby. Just keep me posted. And hey, if you need to talk, I'm here." For a second, hearing kindness made my throat tighten. People always say betrayal hurts most when it comes from someone you love, but they don't talk enough about how kindness can break you too, because it reminds you of what you deserved all along. I packed a small suitcase. Jeans, sweaters, my comfortable shoes. I moved slowly, deliberately, like if I rushed, I'd fall apart. Every item felt heavier than it should have, maybe because I didn't know if I'd be bringing them back to this house. When I went to lock up, I paused on the porch. The walkway I swept every Saturday morning, the rose bush I planted 15 years ago that now bloomed like it had no idea my life was falling apart. Everything felt fragile. "Hold on for me," I whispered to the house. "Just a little longer." The drive to Atlanta was 7 hours. I made it in 6.5, fueled by adrenaline and gospel music playing softly in the background, just to keep my spirit from cracking clean in half. Every road sign felt like a countdown. Every exit reminded me that I had no idea what I was walking into. By the time I pulled into the city, night had settled in. Atlanta was alive.
Neon lights, music drifting from cars, people moving with purpose on the sidewalks. I felt like a stranger in a place Janelle now called home. My first stop was the hotel her card had hit 2 days ago. The lobby was modern, sleek, the kind that offered cucumber water and had staff trained to make you feel like you're not good enough to be there. I walked up to the front desk. The clerk was a young woman with box braids and glossy lip gloss. "Hi," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm looking for my niece. She checked in recently. Her name is Janelle Cole." She typed something, then frowned. "We can't give out guest information." "I understand," I said, leaning in, "but I'm not asking for her room number. I just need to know if she's here or if she was." She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "She checked out yesterday." A cold ripple spread through me. "Did she say where she was going?" "No, ma'am, but..." She stopped, biting her lip. I could tell she wanted to help. "But what?" I whispered. She looked around, then leaned closer. "She wasn't alone. She left with some older man, flashy, and she looked nervous, like she didn't want to be seen." My stomach dropped. "An older man? My Janelle?" I asked if she was hurt, my voice cracking. "Was she safe?" The clerk hesitated again, then said something that chilled me. She wasn't hurt, but she wasn't happy either. A tremor went down my spine. Janelle wasn't built for danger. She was sensitive, emotional, easily influenced. What had she gotten herself into? I thanked the clerk and walked out, my legs shaky. The night air hit me like a slap. I reached my car and gripped the door handle just to stay upright. This wasn't just about debt anymore. This wasn't just about irresponsibility. Something else was going on, something darker. I slid into my driver's seat and took a shaky breath. I needed one more lead. I logged into her credit card account on my phone and checked the most recent transaction. My heart stuttered. It wasn't a store or a hotel or a gas station. It was an address, a residential one, a condo building downtown, one of the expensive new ones, the kind of place someone like me would never qualify for. But apparently, Janelle, or whoever she was with, did. I put the address in my GPS, 14 minutes away. I sat there for one long, steadying breath. Then I started the car, and I drove straight toward the truth, not knowing what waited behind that condo door would change everything all over again.
The condo tower rose into the night sky like it didn't care about the people that left in its shadow. Sleek glass, polished steel, the kind of building made for young professionals who sip green smoothies and post photos from rooftop pools. I sat in my car across the street, staring at it, feeling completely out of place. My niece, the girl who grew up sleeping on thrift store sheets and eating noodles with hot sauce, was inside a building like this? With an older man? I gripped the steering wheel so hard my fingers ached. Part of me wanted to turn around and go home. Pretend I never found that foreclosure notice. Pretend Janelle was still the little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. Pretend this wasn't happening. But I'd driven too far. Too much was at stake. I stepped out of the car, my knees stiff from the long drive. The air in Atlanta felt thicker, like the city was holding its breath, watching me. I walked toward the entrance, my heart thudding in my ears. Inside, the lobby was bright and cold, all marble floors and chrome accents. A concierge desk set in the center, manned by a tall man in a fitted suit, who looked like he could smell trouble before it walked through the door. He looked up as I approached. "Good evening. How can I help you?" I swallowed hard. "I'm looking for my niece. She may be staying here. Her name is..." He lifted a hand gently. "I'm sorry, ma'am. For resident safety, we cannot confirm who lives here." I exhaled slowly. I expected that answer, but it still stung. I reached into my purse and pulled out the foreclosure notice. I unfolded it and placed it on the counter like it was my last card to play. She stole my identity. She used my name, my credit. She's hiding from me, and I need to find her before I lose my home. The man's stern expression softened. His eyes shifted from me to the paper, then back again. He lowered his voice. "I can't tell you who lives here, but I can tell you if someone recently moved into this building using documents that weren't theirs, management would have flagged it.
And they haven't. A flicker of hope rose in me, or fear, I wasn't sure which. So she's not living here. He paused. Too long. I didn't say that, he murmured. My heart dropped. He leaned slightly closer. What I can tell you is this. I've seen a young woman matching your description come through here a few times. Not as a resident, as a guest. A guest of an older man. I felt sick. Do you know the unit? He hesitated, then pointed subtly toward the elevator. Top floor. Penthouse. But please, ma'am, be careful. That man doesn't look like someone who likes visitors. My pulse pounded in my throat. Thank you, I whispered. I walked toward the elevator, my legs trembling. When the door slid open, I stepped inside and hit the button for the top floor. The elevator rose silently, floor after floor blurring past the glass walls. My reflection stared back at me, a tired, heartbroken woman clawing her way toward the truth. When the elevator chimed, the doors opened to a private hallway lined with dark hardwood floors and soft recessed lighting. Only one door stood at the end, tall, heavy, intimidating. The penthouse. I approached it slowly. Every step felt like walking deeper into something I couldn't escape. I raised my hand and knocked. Nothing. I knocked again harder. Janelle, it's Auntie. I know you're in there. Silence. I pressed my ear to the door. Nothing at first, then faint movement, a whisper, a shuffle, a quick hush. My pulse spiked. Open this door, I hissed. Suddenly, I heard the deadbolt click. The door cracked open just a sliver, no wider than an inch. A single eye peered out. Janelle. Her eye widened in shock. Auntie, what are you doing here? I pushed gently, but she blocked the door with her foot. Why are you running from me? My voice wavered. Why didn't you stop paying the mortgage? Why are you here with some man? Janelle, what have you gotten yourself into? Her breath hitched, and for a moment, just a moment, I saw the scared little girl I used to hold after nightmares. Then a deep voice echoed from inside the penthouse. Who is that? Janelle flinched, her face draining of color. She looked over her shoulder, then back at me, panic rising in her eyes. Auntie, please just go. This was a mistake. I reached for her hand through the crack. Baby, come with me. Let's go home. We can fix this. Her fingers trembled, but didn't grab mine. Footsteps approached from inside the penthouse, slow, heavy, deliberate. Janelle's whisper turned urgent. Auntie, please don't let him see you. But it was too late. The door was yanked open from behind her, and standing there was a man I'd never seen before. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in an expensive suit, with eyes so cold they made my hair on my arms rise. He looked me up and down like I was an inconvenience he wanted gone, and then he smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Well, he said slowly, if it isn't the woman whose credit paid for all of this. My blood froze. Janelle stood between us shaking, and I realized, with a sinking in my chest, that I had no idea what kind of danger she was in, or how deep it went, but I was about to find out.
I froze in that doorway, staring up at the man who had just pulled it open like he owned the whole world, and my niece along with it. He stood there radiating something dangerous, something polished and practiced, like he'd spent his whole life perfecting a mask he could slip on and off at will. Janelle stood slightly behind him, shoulders tight, eyes wide, not like someone hiding a secret, but like someone trapped inside one. The man looked at me the way a wolf looks at a doe that wandered too close. So you're Aunt Lynn, he said, his voice smooth as poured whiskey, the woman who co-signed a mortgage for a house she doesn't even live in. Bold move. I clenched my jaw. Who are you? He smirked and stepped forward just enough to make me take a breath too sharp. My name is Anton Wells. I'm a business partner of your niece. Janelle's eyes darted to the floor. Business partner. That was a lie. I knew it from the way she shrank. What kind of business? I asked. He chuckled, a low, dry sound. The kind that doesn't concern you. My nails dug into my palms. It concerns me when my niece disappears. It concerns me when she stops paying her mortgage and puts my home at risk. And it concerns me when I find her living in a penthouse with a stranger who answers her door like he owns her. Janelle's breath hitched. A tiny sound, but I heard it. Anton turned to her and tilted his head. She's dramatic, isn't she? He said it like a joke, but his tone felt like a warning, a reminder, a leash. Janelle's posture stiffened. Auntie, please, we should talk outside. No. Anton interrupted. "If she came all this way, she can say what she needs to say right here." I stared at him. He didn't blink, didn't shift, didn't breathe wrong. A man too still, too controlled, too confident. And behind him, the luxury furniture, the unopened boxes, the expensive decor, none of it had Janelle's fingerprints. Nothing was hers. She was living inside someone else's world. "What did you convince her to do?" I asked him. "What are you using her for?" Janelle moved quickly, stepping between us. "Auntie, please, stop. You don't know what you're talking about." "Then tell me," I pressed. "Tell me why you left. Why you couldn't call. Why you let everything fall apart." She hugged her arms around herself. I was overwhelmed. Things got out of control. "I didn't want you to worry." I let out a bitter laugh. "So instead you let me get blindsided by foreclosure? That's how you avoid worry?" Janelle's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away fast, too fast, like she wasn't allowed to cry. Anton sighed loudly. "This is getting tedious. Look, Lynn, whatever financial issues you two have are none of my damn business. Janelle and I have an arrangement. She benefits, I benefit. There's nothing more to discuss." I stepped closer. "She owes me answers." He leaned down slightly, his voice dropping to a dangerous quiet. "And I owe you nothing." The air between us turned sharp. I spoke through clenched teeth. "If she doesn't talk to me privately, I'm calling the police, and I will keep calling until somebody listens." Janelle gasped softly. Anton's jaw twitched, the first crack in his mask. He leaned toward me, just inches away. "You really don't know when to stop, do you?" Every instinct in me screamed to step back, but I didn't. My knees trembled, but I stood my ground. "Move aside. I'm taking my niece out of here." Janelle grabbed my wrist, her fingers trembling. "Auntie, please don't. You're making it worse." "For who? For you? Or for him?" Anton's smile returned. "So you think she wants to leave? You think she didn't choose this? She's an adult, Lynn. She goes where she wants." Janelle stiffened again. No agreement, no denial, just fear. I turned to her, lowering my voice. "Baby, if you want to leave, I will walk you right out of here. You don't owe him anything. You don't have to live like this." Her lip quivered. She opened her mouth, then looked at Anton. Her words died before they formed. That was all I needed. She wasn't free. Whatever their arrangement was, she wasn't choosing it anymore. I pulled gently at her arm. "Let's go." Anton stepped between us with one wide, deliberate stride. "She's not going anywhere with you." I stared him dead in his eyes. "You can't keep her here." He smirked again, a predator amused by a mouse. "I don't have to keep her. She stays." I looked at Janelle. "Is that true? Do you want to stay?" Her silence sliced me open. Not a yes, not a no, just fear. And then Anton said something that made my whole body go cold. "You should leave the city, Lynn. Atlanta isn't safe for someone who doesn't know how to mind her business." My stomach dropped. Was that a threat? He stepped back, hands raised slightly, as if to appear harmless. "Of course not. Just advice from a man who's seen what happens to people who dig too deep." Janelle flinched again. That was the moment I knew she wasn't just in trouble. She was owned, used, caught in something she didn't know how to escape. I stared at the man, memorizing every detail of his face. "If you hurt her," he cut me off, "I don't hurt people. I invest in them." My voice shook with fury. "You didn't invest in her. You bought her." He laughed. He actually laughed. "Believe what you want, but you should go now, before this becomes unpleasant." Janelle's hand twitched upward, like she wanted to reach for me, but she stopped herself. She mouthed something, barely visible. "Stop." My heart shredded. "I'm not leaving you," I whispered. Anton shook his head. "Oh, but you are." And then he said it. The sentence that would haunt me long after I left that building. "She doesn't belong to you anymore." That was the moment I snapped. "I'm calling the police," I said, pulling out my phone. His expression darkened. The air shifted. Janelle gasped. "Auntie, no!" But before I could dial, Anton stepped forward, grabbed the phone out of my hand, and crushed it in one brutal squeeze. The pieces clattered onto the marble floor. Janelle let out a choked sob, and I realized, with a terrible shaking clarity, that I had just stepped into something far more dangerous than I understood. Anton leaned down, his voice a cold whisper. "Now leave." I stumbled back, heart racing, breath shallow, realizing I had no phone, no protection, no backup. And as I backed into the elevator, Janelle cried out my name. I reached for her, but the doors slid shut before either of us could touch. The last thing I saw was her face.
terrified, helpless, begging. And I knew Atlanta had swallowed her whole, and I was the only one who could pull her out. I drove home shaking so badly I could barely keep my hands on the wheel. My phone was in pieces on a penthouse floor. My niece was trapped with a man who crushed electronics like they were paper cups. And I had nothing, no proof. No witnesses, no way to contact her, nothing but fear, choking my throat raw. My apartment felt like a different planet when I finally reached it. Too dark, too quiet, too small to hold the storm inside me. I shut the door, locked every latch, and leaned back against the wood, sliding down until I sat on the floor with my knees pulled to my chest. I had never felt so powerless. But fear, real fear, does something strange to a person. It either paralyzes you or it wakes up a part of you that you didn't know existed. That night, it woke me up. Around midnight, I finally got myself off the floor and dug through my desk drawer for my old prepaid phone, the one I kept for emergencies. I plugged it in, waited for it to sputter awake, and then did the one thing I had been too ashamed to do for 8 months. I called my sister, Janelle's mother. The woman who left but still held the title. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice groggy and irritated. "Who is this?" "It's me," I said. Silence stretched for a moment. Then, "What's wrong?" Not "how are you?" Not "is everything okay?" Just the resigned tone of someone waiting for bad news they think they can blame on you. "It's Janelle," I said. Instant sharpness. "What about my daughter? She's missing. And when I found her, she was with a man. Someone dangerous." "Dangerous how?" "He threatened me. He took my phone and destroyed it." My sister exhaled loudly. Not scared, but annoyed. "Lynn, you're dramatic. Janelle is grown. She doesn't need us intervening in her life. She does when she's being controlled. She's always been independent, stronger than you give her credit for." "No," I snapped. "No, she's not strong. She's scared. I saw it." My sister sighed again, long, tired, dismissive. "Look, I'm sorry you're upset, but she'll reach out when she's ready." I almost dropped the phone. "When she's ready?" She cried for help. She tried to speak, but she couldn't. "Something is wrong." "Then let her figure it out," she said. "Oh my God," I whispered. "You don't care." "That's not fair." "It's the truth." We sat in cold silence before she spoke again. "Do you want me to call the police for you?" My jaw locked. I already tried that. No one listens unless she reports it herself. "Then maybe she doesn't want to," she shot back. "You can't force her to leave. You can't fix everything." The words stung because they were familiar. The same one she'd used when she handed me her daughter years ago. "You abandoned her once. Don't do it again." My sister's voice cracked. Just barely. "I didn't abandon her. I did what I had to." "Then help now. Please." She inhaled sharply and said the one thing I didn't expect. "I can't get involved with Anton." My blood chilled. My sister knew his name. "How do you know him?" I asked. Voice trembling, she fell silent. "Answer me." Still nothing. "You know him," I repeated, this time in a whisper. "You know what he is." "Lynn, drop this." "No." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You don't understand what he's capable of." "Then explain it to me." But she didn't. She simply ended the call, just like that. Click, gone. I stared at the dead screen, heart pounding, mind racing. My sister knew something big enough to scare a grown woman into silence. Something tied to her past, something tied to Janelle's present. I barely slept that night, and by morning, I had made my decision. If the police wouldn't help, if my sister wouldn't help, if Janelle couldn't speak, then I would start digging myself. I took the prepaid phone and searched Anton Wells, Atlanta. Nothing. No mugshots, no business listings, no social media, no address records. He was a ghost, which made him even more dangerous. I sat back in my chair, tapping the table with restless fingers, trying to figure out my next step, when suddenly, the phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart jumped. I answered immediately. "Hello?" Breathing. Just breathing. "Janelle?" I whispered. More breath. Unsteady. Shaky. Then a faint whisper. "Auntie, don't look for me." My whole world froze. "Baby? Where are you? Please, don't." Her voice trembled. "He'll know I called. He always knows. Please stop. Please." I swallow hard, trying not to cry. "I'm coming to get you. I'm not leaving you with him." "No," she whispered. "No, Auntie, you don't understand. If you come back here." The line rustled. She gasped. His voice, low, cold, unmistakable, came through the phone. "Did I tell you to use that. The call cut off. I stared at the silent screen, every nerve in my body screaming. Something had just changed. Something had just escalated. And I now knew one thing with absolute certainty. If I didn't act now, I was going to lose her forever.
I didn't go to work the next morning. I couldn't pretend anything was normal. Not after hearing Janelle whisper for help. Not after hearing that man's voice slither through the phone like a warning. I sat at my small kitchen table, gripping a mug of cold coffee I never drank, staring at the wall like it might give me answers. Every second that passed felt like she was drifting further away. By noon, I couldn't sit still anymore. I grabbed my notebook, the same one where I tracked every bill, every payment, every mess I was still cleaning up from that mortgage disaster, and I turned it into something else entirely. A plan, names, locations, times, anything she ever mentioned in passing, anything she ever whispered when she didn't know I was listening, and one thing I wrote in big, angry letters. Anton Wells, find his mother. Because if a man leaves no trace, someone who raised him does. I didn't know where to start, so I retraced my steps from the last place I saw him, that penthouse building on Lenox. The security guard recognized me instantly and stiffened like I was trouble. "Ma'am, we already discussed." "I know. I'm not trying to get inside. I just need one thing." He hesitated. "Please," I whispered. "Just one." He sighed, lowered his voice. "I can't give you tenant info, but I can tell you that man doesn't live here. He only visits, and nobody here ever says his name." I frowned. "Meaning what?" "Meaning," he said carefully, "people who come with him don't come more than once." A chill crawled up my spine. "You mean women don't come back?" He didn't answer. His silence was enough. I walked away with my heart in my throat. That building wasn't just a fancy place. It was a trap. A stage he used, a place where women disappeared from their old lives and became shadows behind his. I drove until my hands stopped trembling and parked in front of my apartment, staring blankly at the steering wheel. When I finally looked up, someone was standing on the sidewalk. My sister, arms crossed, eyes red like she'd been crying, lip trembling in a way she probably didn't realize I could see. I got out slowly. "Why are you here?" "I shouldn't have hung up on you last night." "That's not an apology. It's the best I have right now." I didn't have the strength to argue. She stepped closer. "You're right. I know who Anton is." "Then tell me." She looked away. "I can't. You already lost Janelle once," I said, voice shaking. "You really want to lose her again?" She flinched. I softened just a little. "Please, if you know something, if you've seen something, please help me." Her voice dropped to a whisper. I dated him. My stomach turned. "When?" I asked. "A long time ago, before Janelle was born. He wasn't like this back then, or maybe he was, and I just didn't see it." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted that part of my life buried, and because I knew if you found out, you'd go looking. I'm already looking. Help me." She shook her head violently. "No, you don't get it. He's dangerous. He doesn't just hurt people. He ruins them. He watches them. He studies what they love and tears it apart piece by piece. He doesn't stop." "Then why did he take Janelle?" Her eyes filled with tears. "He didn't take her," she whispered. "She went to him." My breath caught. "No," I said. "No, I saw her face. She was scared." "She is scared," my sister said softly, "but she still went because that's what he does. He makes people feel like he's the only one who sees them, the only one who understands them. And once he's inside their head," she swallowed, "it's almost impossible to pull them out." "But she called me," I said. "She reached for me." My sister nodded, "which means
She's starting to see the truth, and that means she's in danger. She looked me dead in the eyes. If he thinks you're trying to pull her away, he won't go after you, Lynn. She paused. He'll go after her. I felt my knees weaken. What do we do? I whispered. My sister hesitated, then reached into her purse and handed me a folded piece of paper. This is the only address I know. Last place he used years ago. I don't know if he still goes there, but if he does, don't approach him. Just watch from afar. I unfolded it. An old, fading address on the south side. Why are you giving me this? I asked. She wiped her eyes. Because you're the only one who ever fought for her. Even when I didn't. I stared at the paper. A location, a lead, a chance. For the first time in days, hope flickered. Then my sister whispered something that turned that hope into dread. If you're going out there, don't go alone. And don't go after dark. I looked up sharply. Why? She swallowed hard. Because that place, it's where he keeps things he doesn't want people to find. The wind cut through us as we stood there on the sidewalk, the weight of her words settling into my bones. I folded the paper, slipped it into my pocket, and made up my mind. I was going. I didn't care what waited for me. But the moment I turned toward my apartment door, my sister grabbed my arm. Lynn, if you go there, you might not come back. I pulled away gently. I'm going anyway. And as I walked inside, I felt something shift, a heavy, invisible line that I had just crossed, the kind you can never step back over. Tomorrow, I would go to that address. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, I might finally see the truth, or the truth might see me first.
I didn't sleep. I tried. God knows I tried. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw Janelle's tear-streaked face and heard that man's voice dripping through the phone like poison. By sunrise, my nerves were raw and my chest felt tight enough to crack. The address my sister gave me sat on the table like a threat. I stared at it while sipping a cup of coffee I didn't taste. The sky outside was a dull gray, the kind that made the world feel heavy. Maybe it was a sign. Maybe it was just weather. Either way, I couldn't sit still anymore. I put on jeans, a hoodie, and my heaviest coat, partly for warmth, mostly for courage, and slipped the paper into my pocket. Before leaving, I grabbed two things, the prepaid phone and a small can of pepper spray I hadn't used in years. At the door, I hesitated. God, please don't let me be too late. Then I left. The South Side looked different from the last time I'd been there. Older, more tired, like it had been holding its breath for years. The buildings sagged. The windows were boarded. The streets cracked like broken promises. The address led me to an old warehouse district near the train tracks. The building was massive. Gray brick, rusted doors, graffiti, and tall weeds clawing up the walls. It looked abandoned, but not forgotten. A place someone could use. A place someone dangerous could hide things or people. My pulse hammered. I parked half a block away and approached slowly, staying close to the fence line. A cold wind pushed against my back as I reached the side of the building. There were no cameras. No signs, no lights. But there was something worse. A black SUV parked in the shadows. Engine still warm. He was here. I pressed myself against the wall, heart racing. I wanted to leave. I wanted to run back to my car and pretend none of this was happening. But then I pictured Janelle's trembling whisper, "Auntie, don't look for me." And I stayed. The warehouse had small windows near the top. If I could find a way up, a crunch behind me made every muscle in my body freeze. Footsteps, slow, heavy, deliberate. I didn't breathe. The steps grew closer. I slid behind a pile of old wooden pallets, crouching low. My breath fogged the cold air in front of me, and I covered my mouth with my sleeve. A man walked past, broad shoulders, black coat, hands in his pockets. Not Antone, thank God, but someone bigger
bigger, someone with the stance of a guard. He paused near the SUV, looking around, scanning the area like he expected trouble. Then his phone rang. "Yeah, I'm outside. Boss is with her now." Her. My stomach dropped. Janelle. I edged closer, staying hidden behind the pallets. No, she ain't trying to run. She ain't stupid. She knows what happens if she does. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. He walked a few feet, glancing around again. Yeah, she cried, but you know how they do. Give her a couple of hours, she'll fold. Thunder roared in my ears. Fold? Like Janelle was a piece of paper he could bend? I wanted to jump out and scream at him. I wanted to claw his face, throw rocks, break windows, anything to stop whatever was happening inside that warehouse. But I didn't, because I needed to know where she was. He turned toward the warehouse door, muttering, "He's almost done talking to her. I'll grab the car ready." Almost done. Talking. I felt sick. As soon as he stepped inside and the door clanged shut behind him, I moved. Not fast. Quiet. I hugged the wall, inching toward the door he'd used. It was metal, rusted, but not locked. I touched the handle, freezing cold, and slowly, painfully slowly, pushed it open. A sliver of dim light cut through the darkness. Voices drifted down the hallway. A man's low rumble, a woman's soft sobs. Janelle. I slipped inside and let the door close behind me. The air smelled of dust, oil, and something metallic. The hall stretched long and narrow, with flickering lights overhead. I crept forward, pressing myself against the wall. The voices grew clearer. "You think you're ready to leave after everything I did for you?" Anton's voice was smooth, controlled, too calm. "I just need time. You don't need anything except me." He stepped closer. I could hear the shift in his tone. Possessive, manipulative, poisonous. "No one else cares about you. Not your mother, not your aunt." My throat tightened. Lies. All lies. "You don't understand," she cried. "My aunt." "Your aunt is the reason you're in this mess. She's been controlling you your whole life." "That's not true, isn't it? Who paid your bills? Who decided where you lived? Who decided your major? Who told you who you should be?" Janelle sobbed. "See?" he said softly. "I'm the only one who lets you choose." My hand shook with rage. He wasn't strong because he was powerful. He was strong because he found weak places in people and pressed until they broke. I edged closer, peeking into the room, and there she was. Janelle, sitting on a metal chair, face swollen from crying, hands trembling in her lap. Anton stood over her, tall and cold, his shadow swallowing her whole. And then he turned his head. His eyes narrowed. He stared directly at the doorway where I was hiding. My heart stopped. He smiled. He said, "I know you're out there." I froze. Janelle gasped. He took a step forward, then another. "Come on in, since you've come all this way." My body went numb. He knew. He knew I came. He knew I was listening. He might have known the second I pulled onto the street. I stepped back slowly, but the floor creaked under my shoe. Janelle screamed, "Auntie, run!" Anton lunged toward the door, and the lights went out.
The darkness didn't feel natural. It felt too fast, too complete, swallowing the hallway, the room, every corner of the warehouse in a suffocating black that made my breath catch in my throat. For a split second, the world was silent except for the pounding of my heart. Then chaos erupted. Janelle screamed. Anton cursed. Something metal crashed to the floor. I pressed myself against the wall, groping blindly for direction. The darkness was so thick it felt like a weight on my skin. Someone moved quickly, too quickly, brushing the air near me. "Auntie!" Janelle's voice cracked. "Where are you?" "Stay down," I yelled, though I had no idea where she was. A heavy thud shook the room. Then another, then a gasp, sharp, strangled, and boots scraping against concrete. Anton. He was moving, hunting through the dark. He wasn't scared. He wasn't thrown off. He knew this building. But I had one advantage he didn't. I wasn't trying to win. I was trying to get her out. I crawled along the wall until I reached the doorway, the tiny draft sliding along the floor, guiding my direction. The air smelled different there, colder, cleaner, meaning it led toward the exterior of the warehouse. Janelle, I whispered urgently, listen to my voice, move toward me, stay low. I can't see, she cried. You don't need to see. Crawl. I heard her shifting, her breath ragged. Then I heard him, his voice, low, calm, too calm, coming from the black. You brought this on yourself, sweetheart. Something collided with the wall near me, a fist maybe, or a boot. The impact shuddered through the metal. Auntie, help, she whispered. I'm right here, I whispered back. I stretched my hand into the darkness. Something warm grabbed it. Janelle. I pulled her into my arms and held her for a split second, long enough to feel her shaking, long enough to know she was terrified, long enough to know she was still alive. Come on, I breathed. We're leaving. We crawled, inch by inch, following the draft. Behind us, Anton's voice grew sharper. You can't hide her from me. A chill shot through my spine. He was close, too close. I felt along the wall until my fingers hit the edge of a door frame. With my free hand, I pushed, gently at first, then harder. The door creaked open just enough for a sliver of dawn light to spill through from somewhere outside. Hope. I shoved it open fully and pulled Janelle out into a narrow corridor that smelled of mildew and cold air. Light flickered at the far end. An exit sign, glowing faintly. We ran, bare feet slapping concrete, breaths tearing through our chests, shadows stretching behind us. Keep going, I yelled as we stumbled toward the door, but the building wasn't done with us. Halfway down the corridor, a dark shape stepped out of a side room, tall, broad, blocking the path. The guard. He saw us, eyes wide. Hey, where do you think? I didn't let him finish. I grabbed the pepper spray from my pocket, flicked the cap, and sprayed directly into his face. He screamed instantly, clutching his eyes as he slammed into the wall. Go! I shouted. Janelle grabbed my hand and we sprinted. The exit door was just ahead, so close I could feel the cold wind leaking through the cracks. Then, an alarm blared behind us. Heavy footsteps thundered through the hall. Anton roared, "Don't let them out!" Janelle sobbed, "Auntie, hurry!" We reached the door. I pushed with everything I had. It burst open. Cold daylight flooded our faces. We stumbled into a gravel lot behind the warehouse. The train tracks were visible beyond a rusted chain-link fence. Birds scattered into the sky as the alarm echoed through the yard. My car was parked down the block. "Run to the street!" I gasped. "Run!" Janelle sprinted ahead, limping slightly, her hair wild, her cheeks streaked with tears. I followed, but something yanked me backward by the arm, hard. I spun, screaming. Anton stood behind me, his grip like steel, his eyes burning with fury. "You should have stayed out of this," he growled. My shoulder twisted painfully, my feet slipped on the gravel, his hand tightened around my wrist like a vice. Janelle screamed from the street, "Let her go!" Anton didn't even look at her. His focus was locked on me, like he'd been waiting for this moment. "You just couldn't leave things alone, could you?" he hissed. Always meddling, always rescuing. I gritted my teeth, trying to pull away. "She's not yours. She's mine if I say she is. No, she's mine. I raised her." His face twisted. "You raised her to depend on you, and you're trying to break her." He leaned in, voice low and venomous. "You think you know what's best for her? You don't even know what she told me about you." My blood went cold. "What?" I whispered. His smile was slow, cruel. "She told me everything." I stared at him, breath shaking. "What did she tell you?" He leaned closer. "That she doesn't want you in her life anymore." The words hit harder than his grip. My knees almost gave out. He watched my face crumble and smiled wider. "That's why she came to me, to get away from you." "No," I whispered. "She wouldn't." "She did." My heart cracked. And right in the middle of that pain, he yanked harder, pulling me toward the warehouse. But a scream tore through the air. "Auntie, move!" I twisted my head just in time to see Janelle, trembling, terrified, holding a piece of broken cinder block with both hands. Before I could warn her, she swung it hard. It connected with Anton's shoulder instead of his head, but it was enough to make him grunt and loosen his grip. I stumbled back, gasping. He turned toward her, eyes blazing with rage. "You!" Janelle dropped the block and grabbed my arm. "Run!" We ran. This time, he wasn't just furious. He was coming for both of us, and the look in his eyes told me something terrifying. He wasn't planning to let either of us leave that place alive. The moment our feet hit the road, I knew he was behind us, not walking, not running, charging. Janelle's fingers were locked around mine so tightly they hurt, but I didn't dare let go. The cold morning air burned my lungs as we sprinted across the cracked pavement toward the end of the block where my car was parked. "Auntie, he's coming!" Janelle cried. "I know! Keep going!" We rounded the corner. My car sat on the other side of the street, gleaming like a salvation I wasn't sure we'd reach in time. Then a roar echoed from behind us. "You can't leave!" I didn't look back. I couldn't. The sound of his boots on asphalt told me enough. He was close, too close. I felt the air shift as he lunged forward, fingers just brushing my jacket. "Faster!" I choked. Janelle stumbled and nearly fell, but I yanked her up. Traffic began to hum. A single car rolled down the far end of the street. People, witnesses, safety. "Wave!" I shouted. "Flag them down!" Janelle flung her arms wildly, screaming, "Help! Please!" The driver slowed, shocked, eyes wide, but we still had to reach my car. We hit the sidewalk. The gravel beneath our bare feet turned to concrete. My key fob was in my jacket pocket. Thank God I'd brought it inside the warehouse. I fumbled with it, hands shaking violently. Come on! Open! The headlights flashed, unlocked. We sprinted the last few feet, but Anton grabbed the back of my coat and yanked. The world spun. I hit the ground hard, my palms scraping against the concrete. Pain shot up my wrists. Janelle screamed and tried to pull me forward, but he was too strong. He dragged me backward across the pavement like I weighed nothing. "No!" Janelle shrieked. "Let her go!" He ignored her completely. His grip dug into my skin, his breath heavy with rage. "You're done interfering," he spat. "You hear me? Done." I tried to twist away, but he slammed his knee into the back of my leg, pinning me. "Get off her!" Janelle sobbed. I looked up just long enough to see her grab a broken road reflector from the gutter. She bolted toward us, but Anton saw her coming. He reached out with his free hand and shoved her so violently she crashed onto the asphalt, skidding across it on her side. "Janelle!" I screamed. She whimpered, clutching her ribs. That was it. Something inside me snapped. Not fear, not desperation, something older, something stronger. I twisted beneath him, grabbed a handful of gravel, and shoved it into his eyes with every ounce of strength I had. He roared, releasing my arm as he reeled back blindly. "You!" But I was already scrambling toward Janelle. "Get up!" I whispered frantically. "Come on, baby, get up!" She staggered, tears streaming down her face. "It hurts." "I know. Just get in the car." I hit the unlock button again. She threw herself into the passenger seat. I rounded the hood and Anton slammed into me from the side. I crashed against the car so hard the metal dented. The breath left my lungs in a single painful burst. He grabbed my throat, not squeezing, just holding, threatening. "You think I'll let her take you?" He growled. "After everything she told me?" "I don't care what she told you," I hissed, clawing at his grip. "She's leaving with me." His jaw clenched. "You don't deserve her." Something flickered in his eyes, not just fury, conviction, as if he actually believed he loved her, as if he actually believed she was his. "You're sick," I whispered. He shoved me harder against the metal. "I'm the only one who ever told her the truth." "About what?" He leaned in, lips curled. "About the things you've kept from her." The world stalled. What things?" "Oh, she didn't tell you?" Of course not. She knew you'd panic. You always panic. I stared at him, my pulse hammering. What are you talking about? I demanded. What did she tell you? He smiled. Slow and poisonous. Everything. A chill ran straight through me. Tell me what? His grip tightened, just enough for making breathing hard. She lied to you. She's hiding something. She came to me because she couldn't face you. The thought spiraled so fast I nearly missed the shadow behind him. Janelle, clutching the spare tire iron from the trunk, her hand shaking, but her jaw set. Before he sensed her movement, she swung. The iron smashed into his back with a sickening crack. He screamed. The force made him stumble. His grip on my throat loosened. I dropped to my knees, gasping, coughing, my vision blurring around the edges. Janelle grabbed my arm. Get in, she cried. Now! I scrambled into the driver's seat and slammed the door shut. She jumped in on her side. I hit the lock button. Anton stumbled toward the car, rage twisting his face, blood trickling from a cut above his eyebrow. I jammed the keys into the ignition. He lunged at the window. I floored the gas. The tires screeched. The car lurched forward, and we shot down the street just as he slapped the hood with both hands. Janelle sobbed, shaking uncontrollably. I couldn't look at her. Not yet. Not until we were far away. We sped through 3 intersections before I finally asked, Janelle, what did you tell him? Silence. She stared out the window, trembling. Then, Auntie, her voice cracked. There was something in it I'd never heard before. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. A cold dread curled through my chest. What didn't you mean? She covered her face. I lied to him. My heart dropped. About what? She lowered her hands. About me. About us. And about the thing I never told you. Her words hung in the air like smoke, thin, choking, impossible to escape. The thing I never told you. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel, knuckles white. My heart beat sharp in my ears. The road stretched ahead, empty except for the streetlights flickering at the edges of my blurred vision. Janelle, I said carefully, what are you talking about? What thing? She swallowed hard, her voice trembling. Auntie, I didn't just meet Anton. I didn't just fall for him. I didn't just move in with him. My stomach nodded. I figured that, I murmured. You don't end up in a situation like that overnight. She shook her head violently. No. You don't understand. Her hands twisted together, then pressed against her mouth as if she was bracing herself. I met him because I was looking for someone who could help me, someone who knew things about, her voice broke, about my mother. My chest tightened. Oh, baby. She turned to me, eyes shining with panic. Auntie, I found something before everything went bad, before the mortgage, before the lies, before Anton. The night seemed to press closer around the car. What did you find? I whispered. She blinked fast, tears spilling over. A letter. A chill ran through me. What kind of letter? She sucked in a shaky breath. A letter my mom wrote before she left, died, disappeared. Janelle never said the word. Neither did I. I found it in an old box in your attic. My grip froze. My attic? She nodded. You were at work. I was looking for my birth certificate. I needed it for that financial aid appeal, remember? I opened the wrong box and it just fell out. It was old, yellow, like somebody meant to throw it away. I swallowed hard. I never saw any letter, Janelle. I know. She looked down. That's why I didn't want to tell you. Something hot and uneasy coiled in my stomach. What did it say? She wiped her face, voice cracking. It said she wasn't leaving because she didn't love me. She said she was scared. She was running from someone who wanted something from her, someone dangerous. My pulse quickened. Who? She shook her head. It didn't say. She wrote that she'd tell me when I was older, that she'd explain everything, but she never came back. And I needed answers. I needed to know what she meant. She looked at me, guilt crushing her expression. So I started looking for people who knew her, people she knew, people with connections. Her voice dropped to a whisper, and that's how I found Anton. My heart sunk. Oh no. He told me he knew her. He told me she owed someone money, that she was hiding from them, that he had information, real
Information. If I helped him. My blood ran cold. Helped him with what? She looked away. Ashamed. He said he needed access to a clean financial profile, someone with stable credit, someone whose accounts banks trusted. The truth hit me like a punch. He used you, I said softly. She nodded, tears falling again. He said if I helped him get approved for a loan, he'd tell me what he knew about Mom. He said it was the only way. And Auntie, I was desperate. You don't understand what it felt like holding a letter from her, knowing she was scared, that she was running from someone. She covered her face. So I signed things for him, little things at first. Forms, applications. He said they were just verifications. He said they wouldn't affect me. I felt sick. And then the mortgage. She nodded. He said I needed a cosigner because I didn't have enough income. He promised you'd never have to pay anything. He promised he'd take care of it. He promised. Her voice cracked under its own weight. I didn't know he would use your name. I didn't know he would stop paying. I didn't know he would threaten me. I didn't know he would. She broke into sobs. I swear, Auntie, I swear on everything. I didn't know. My chest ached, not only with anger, but grief. Grief for her. Grief for everything that had twisted her into believing a predator had answers to her mother's ghost. I softened my voice. Janelle, baby, why didn't you come to me? She looked at me with the hollow, raw shame of a child who had been lost too long. Because I thought you'd be disappointed. I thought you'd say I was stupid. I thought you'd say Mom made her choices and I had to move on. I would never. She cut me off with a whisper that shattered me. I just needed to know why she left me. She was all I had. And when I read that letter, it felt like losing her all over again. Silence settled, thick and heavy. I reached out and put my hand on her arm. Listen to me, I said steadily again. You are not your mother's mistakes, and you are not responsible for the choices that she made. But this thing with Anton, that ends now. She sniffed, nodding weakly. He won't stop. He told me he wasn't done. He told me he'd come after both of us if I ever tried to leave. I inhaled deeply. Then he's going to be very unhappy to learn what I'm planning. She looked up, frightened. Auntie, what are you going to do? I stared ahead. Jaw set. Something I should have done the second your mother disappeared. A beat of silence. I'm going to call the one person who knows exactly what she was running from. Janelle's eyes widened. Who? I reached for my phone. Your mother's oldest friend. A pause. The one she trusted more than anyone. A whisper escaped my lips. The one she told me never to call unless things got dangerous. I hit dial. The line rang. Once, twice, then a voice answered. Well, I was wondering when you'd finally be smart enough to reach out. My entire body went still, and Janelle's past cracked wide open.
The voice on the other end was low, steady, and familiar in a way that made the hairs on my arms rise. Denise? I whispered. Yes, she said. Now tell me why you finally decided to wake me up after 20 years. My throat tightened. It's about Janelle. Silence. Then a slow, heavy exhale. I figured it would be. Beside me, Janelle straightened, trembling. I put the call on speaker. Denise, I said carefully, did you know about Anton? Oh, baby, she murmured. I warned her. I begged your sister to leave that man alone, but she was young. And he was charming, and men like him, they know how to sink their teeth into women who just want to feel seen. I swallowed hard. You're saying my sister really did know him? Yes, and she tried to leave him. That's why she wrote that letter. She wasn't running from debt or shame. She was running from him. Janelle gasped softly. Tears began streaming down her cheeks, silent and stunned. She died trying to protect you. Denise continued. She thought if she got away, he would never find her again. She didn't know he'd come after the child she left behind. Pain shot through me like lightning. So he targeted Janelle on purpose. Oh, absolutely, Denise said. He wanted leverage. He wanted revenge. And he wanted the satisfaction of destroying the thing your sister loved most. Janelle covered her mouth, eyes wide with horror. And that mortgage mess?
Denise added. That wasn't random. That was him making sure you couldn't help her. My breath caught. So he planned all of this. All of it. The pieces locked together in a way that made me feel sick. My sister's shame, the hidden letter, Janelle's desperation, the mortgage trap, Anton's sudden appearance, his charm, then his threats, his control over her, his anger toward me. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a generational wound, and Janelle was the one bleeding from it. What do we do? I asked. Denise didn't hesitate. You stop letting him play in the dark. You bring him into the light. Men like him only survive in shadows. I don't understand. You will, she said. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., Washington Park, by the fountain. Denise, no. Her voice sharpened. No, no questions, just come and bring the girl. She hung up. Janelle wiped her face with trembling hands. Auntie, what is she going to do? I reached over and squeezed her knee gently. Whatever it takes. The next morning, we met Denise exactly where she said. She looked older, grayer, but her presence was strong enough to steady the ground beneath my feet. She hugged Janelle long and tight. You look just like her, she whispered. Then she pulled back and handed me a folder. What's this? I asked. Everything your sister collected on him before she died. My blood chilled. I flipped it open. Bank fraud, identity theft, fake business registrations, 6 different aliases, a list of women he'd been involved with, each one financially damaged or missing. And at the bottom, a printed copy of the mortgage contract he used to trap me. Janelle stared at it with her hands over her mouth. He did this to all of them? All of them, Denise said, but he slipped up when he messed with you. I frowned. How? Denise looked me dead in the eyes. Because you fight, and you don't back down. I felt something rise inside me, something fierce, something anchored, something that had survived everything he tried to destroy. What now? I asked. We go to the police, but not the local office. We take this to a detective who's already been building a case, someone who won't let it fall through the cracks like it did with your sister. But will they protect Janelle? I whispered. They will once they see what he's done. Janelle's voice cracked. And after, Denise placed a gentle hand on her cheek. After, baby, you get your life back. The process was long, painful, terrifying, but it worked. The detective took the case. Anton was arrested within weeks, multiple charges, federal charges, and for the first time in months, Janelle slept through the night. Not because everything was suddenly fixed. No, because she finally knew her mother hadn't abandoned her. She ran to save her. And now, years later, her daughter was finally free. I rebuilt my credit. I found a new home, small, but mine. I got promoted at work. I breathed again. And Janelle, she started therapy, got a job, started taking classes again, smiled more, laughed louder, left her door unlocked for me every time I visited. We didn't just survive what happened. We healed from it together. And the day she held that old letter in her hands again and whispered, Mom wasn't running from me. She was running for me. I knew it was over. We broke the cycle. We reclaimed our lives. And we rose. Both of us, stronger than ever. If you learned something new from my life story, please like this video, subscribe for more stories like mine, and comment down below where you're watching this video from. I'd truly love to know.